Hi, welcome to another edition of Legal Quilts. Before we get started today, I just want to give a little update on what's going on with the channel. I was chatting with somebody online and they said they always wanted to learn how to quilt, but their sewing machine wasn't that good. And I said, well, guess what? I'm doing this whole a whole summer on hand sewing. So I went back in with all the videos and created a new playlist called hand quilting. It says quilting, but it's really mostly the hand sewing, how to hand sew the blocks, but also how to hand quilt. So it's all right in one place. So if you don't want to use your sewing machine or you want something relaxing, or I always do, take on a trip, I've got everything. It's all in one playlist now. You don't have to look around for it. And you know what? If it takes you 3-4 years to sew a quilt, that's okay. It's supposed to be fun. If you want to do this because you've always wanted to learn how, or you just need something relaxing that doesn't take up a lot of room or something, hand sewing is great, okay? Because you don't need a lot of setup for it. You don't need rotary cutters, markers, all that stuff, really. You just really need needle, thread, fabric, and a pair of scissors, all right? So that's that, all right? This week, we're almost done. And because we're going to be joining the arc piece, the big melon piece, the big curve arc with the melon arc piece, all right? Now, if you looked at the picture, this is what happens when you don't read ahead. These end pieces were supposed to be half light and half dark. I didn't do that. It's fine. Instead of having a lovely 4-patch design where they meet, I'm going to have a solid block of color. And I'm okay with that. I think it'll look fabulous. Fabulous. If you went scrappy, it's still going to look fabulous because it's just where they join. You're still going to be able to see the arc piece. You're going to be able to see the ring. It's going to look fabulous. Trust me. This is a little different where we join them so that it's not... because of what we're dealing with, all right? Because you're dealing with this big curve and this little arc, all right? This little piece. This is smaller than that one and how they go together. We're also going to cut them today, trim them down because I didn't want to do a separate, video on that one, all right? So let me get into it because I've been accused of talking too much. By the way, if this channel isn't for you, feel free to go find another one. You don't have to announce that you're leaving. You can just leave, all right? But if this channel isn't for you, but you still want to learn how to quilt, ask. Just say, you know what, this isn't for me, but can you suggest something? And I can suggest other channels for you. I have no problem doing that. I want you to quilt. I want you to have fun. And if I'm not the one to help you do it, there's somebody who is, all right? Feel free to ask, okay? So the first thing we're going to do to join these together is you're going to take your end pieces. This time your center is from your end pieces together to the middle. Finger crease, all right? And mark that, all right? Finger crease, mark it, all right? I'm using yellow because it doesn't show up real well. Then you're going to do your quarter mark because you're doing half and then quarter. Same thing. Fold your end over to the middle. Sorry, I went off camera a little bit. Finger crease. Mark. Okay. And do the same thing on the other side. Now, your melon's a little bit different, all right? Because if you try to mark it and do the folding and stuff, you're just going to get all messed up, all right? You really are. And then you'll get frustrated. How do I know? I got frustrated. And then I just said, you know what? Here's an easier way to do it, right? You're still going to mark your middle, all right? This time, it's going to look like a curve here. When you fold it up, you want to fold it in half, put your curve there. But really what you're doing, if you look at the top of what you've sewn, you're doing this at a 45-degree angle. So you're kind of making triangle with one side curved, all right? So mark, 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 mark. There we go. This time I'm using purple because yellow does not show up on sand. Who knew? Who knew? Who knew? And that's the only mark we're going to make on this. Here's why. Putting this together, I realized these marks here really pretty much correspond with pretty much this end piece, the second to the end, you know, where these two pieces join together, your two end pieces, your first two or your fourth and fifth, however you're counting them, join together, all right? Yeah, I'm having a little issues. I should have pressed a lot of these, although they're laying down pretty good. If I had a pressing station working on that, I'd probably do more pressing. All right, so you're only going to do your middle piece on this one. Just mark your middle one. Put that together, okay? Put that together. Clip it. Clip your end piece first, which is this end here, all the way to the end of your curved piece there, of your background piece there, okay? Clip, clip, clip. I'm throwing clips all over the place. Then, for your interim piece, take where your mark is here, see that mark? And put it, oh, I said that wrong where it was. All right. Sorry. We're working not from here, but from here. See where your melon piece ends? That's where your middle piece goes. I got wrong side of the curves. Sorry, guys. This is the second take, too. All right? So you just pin that there, all right? It'll all work out. It's a little puffy, but it all works out. So really, the end of this curve, all right, comes up around. Really, it works. Your middle mark, like I said, middle mark, your quarter mark here, not your middle mark, matches up with the end of the melon, all right? Here's your melon end. Let me do it facing this way. It's not here where it matches up. Like I said earlier, it's your melon piece, where your end of your melon is. So that's why you don't have to mark it, because you can see as you're joining them up where your melon piece ends. And you just clip that. Oops. Sorry, I meant to clip the end first. Clip your end first. Clip your end first. And then where your melon piece ends, clip that piece, okay? More or less. Okay. Now it's still a little puffy here, but I have found, let's see, how's that gonna look? And shift it around a little bit so it works, okay? But if you move your melon pieces, not your melon pieces, your arc pieces, the seam towards the center, that takes up some of that little poof that you get there. And it takes care of it. And it just sews very, very nicely, okay? Just remember that. If you haven't ironed them that way, iron them that way now. If you've ironed them the other way, go back and just fold them over so that they go this way, okay? And then just sew. You're just going to sew. Let me show it this way, all right? Again, you're going to go just like before when you were sewing the melon piece, because this actually makes it so much easier. I'm not going to sew this time. You see me hand sewing enough. It's just in and out with the thread, not your thread. Start here, and then just a simple straight stitch from here to your end, easing it along the way, making sure you've got your seam allowance going, okay? Make sure your ends are up. If your ends are up and you do what I said to do with the seams, it all comes out perfect. well, maybe not perfect, but it comes out straight, okay? It comes out so that everything matches up right, all right? Then you do the same thing from the other side, from here to your end. So you're not sewing one continuous curve. You're sewing 2 half curves. And I found that makes sewing curves so much easier. Because if you start here, and even if you match up here, you're pulling the thread, and then you've got this piece hanging off here. And if you trim it, this side's going to look funny because this one's going to be smaller than this one. Whereas if you start in the middle, it comes out. The ends match. So I've really enjoyed doing it that way much more, even though it's, 2 sewing things. I like to do continuous. Works out great. All right. So then when you finish it and you've got them sewn together, it looks like this. See? This is not the block. This is a quarter of the block. You're going to have to sew 4 of these together. You're going to sew your 8 pieces, 4 of these and 4 of these into 8 blocks. Okay, I'm sorry, into 4 blocks. You're going to take your 8 into 4. All right? Next time we sew these together and we're done. All right? So that's why we're going to trim now. Now the directions say your block should be 8.5. I measured, mine are 8 1/4. But the directions also say, doesn't matter if your blocks are a little smaller or a little larger, cut them to the same size. It will affect, as long as they're all the same size, you might get a slightly bigger, slightly smaller final piece, final block, but that's okay. This makes a really big block, so you need fewer of them to do a quilt, all right? So how do you cut these off, all right? Where do we trim? We're really only trimming 2 sides. These sides, okay? Most of your sides are done, all right? So we're going to trim. See where this piece sticks out? That's where we're trimming, all right? I'm trying to think what I do. Okay. On the edge of your end piece, see your end piece here? Lay your ruler. I got my square up ruler here. I got my square ruler. Make sure I like to lay it on a line on my I like to lay it on the lines. You see the lines on my cutting mat? Lay the piece of that's the size you want on that line. Line up your ruler on that line. And remember, these pieces here, this piece is here. Remember we marked them? Because they have a larger seam, they have a larger, not so much seam allowance, but you're going to trim these. They knew you were going to trim them, and this is the part where we trim them later. They knew they were going to be a little big. I forgot to bring my cutter over. Hold that thought. A lot was going on before I set up, so I forgot my rotary cutter. All right? Make sure your pieces are all set up here. Whoops, move that off the line a little bit. All right, make sure nothing's curled up. Everything's as flat as it's going to get, so everything's right. Iron them, if you want to, iron them before you do this part. I think it'll make a difference. And take your rotary, lay your ruler, make sure it's on that line. Not quite on the line. There we go. Okay, lay your ruler, make sure it's on the line. And just, whoops, cut off the excess. All right. And you do the same thing on the other side. See where it's sticking out a little bit? Let me bring in the camera here again. Oh, this one sticks out over that line. Okay. So this time we're putting, I don't know if you can see it. There we go. Let me see. This sticks out over the line. This actually sticks out over the line. This is the line here, okay? So you're going to line that up there, all right? And you're going to put this on here. Make sure your line's straight. Put it on the line. There we go. And boom. And almost done. We got a third side where it's sticking out a little bit. Same thing, put it on the line. Put it on the line. Okay. This time it's at the top to get this done right. I'm left-handed. If you're right-handed, you're doing it this way. Just lay it on the line. A little bit over. There we go. All right. Don't want to be cutting any of those pieces. Ooh. Okay. There we go. All right. Just trim it. And then you have your perfectly square piece. And why are we making these square? I know it kind of goes into here a little bit. That's okay. That might even be caught in the seam allowance when you sew them. It's okay. It'll look fabulous. Trust me. Yeah, this little bit is going to get caught on both sides here. That's going to get caught in the seam allowance. So it's going to come together a little bit more here, and that's okay. Why are we making this square? So that when you sew it all together, you have the straight sides. It makes it so much easier to bind. I've seen quilts that didn't have this outer piece here, so it makes a nice scalloped edge, but binding that is a pain in the neck. So that's what you need to do, is take your 8 pieces and sew them into 4 that look like this and trim them up. And that is it for this edition of Legal Quilts. Next time, like I said, we're going to sew them together and have the block done. Yes, I'm so happy about that we're almost done. And the timing couldn't be better. We'll sew them together next time. There's one more scrap summer. Then it's Labor Day weekend already, and we're going to have a combined this year scrap summer roundup, work in progress winter kickoff. Looking for suggestions for work in progress winter, because I really don't know what I'm going to do. I've got ideas, but always want to hear from you if you have ideas, a technique you want to learn how to do, something you need to know to finish a quilt. Shoot me some ideas. But that's it. Obviously, you can always support my work through Ko-fi or directly through PayPal. I'll have the links in the show notes. Website's up. Stuff's always going. Where could I get more stuff up on the website? The sea surface pattern is going to be going up there soon. That's going to be free though, and I'm going to also give it to the Tempestry folks for free because that's for environmental and stuff like that. Still working on finishing the quilt too. So that's it though for this edition. Have fun, relax. There's no quilt police. So just enjoy what you do. All right? And I'll see you next time.